Welcome to Scandal Water,
where we cover the stories that have captivated the entertainment world.
I'm Candy, a longtime educator and community theater actress.
And I'm Ashley, a writer and co-founder of a local theater group.
We're two friends who share a love of entertainment.
From true crime docuseries, to blockbuster movies, to classic TV, to Broadway shows, and everything in between.
Each week, I share a compelling story related to pop culture.
And I chime in using my trivia junkie brain.
We stick to the facts until it's time to settle into our armchairs at the end.
Then we're simply two women with a strong cup of tea and even stronger opinions.
We're Scandal Water.
And if this sounds like your cup of tea,
follow the show on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel.
Oh, it's that time of day. Tune in and hear what the ladies say. It's time to bend your ear when the silver screen appears. Stories about the stage and screen and everything in between. So come on and join the fun. The curtain opens in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Ashley.
hello, Candy.
You ready to record another episode for our December theme of holiday anniversaries?
I am. I'm excited about this episode.
This is going to be a big one.
I know.
We've done some really good holiday episodes
We
this
have.
season. Yeah, I think this is going to be popular with our listeners too. You know how I like to start with the hook, though.
Yes.
All right, I found something that I thought was interesting. Okay, now of course you're going to know, all of you guys are going to know how this fits. But here's what I ran across: a 2024 Ranker article entitled "The Most Iconic Houses from Movies and TV."
Mm-hmm.
And what they did was they had people vote. So they opened it up to the public, and based on the votes, they ranked the top 31 homes, again, from TV and movies.
What a random number, 31
That's
homes.
what they came up with.
Okay.
I guess once the votes
Yeah, they just did it.
dwindled,
Okay.
they were like, we're
Never
not going to
mind.
include
Never mind.
them. Exactly. Now, the instructions they gave to the public was interesting. They told them, vote on the iconic film houses that you definitely wished you grew up in, which makes this interesting because a few of these answers to me would not fit that.
Okay.
But again, we all know what one of these answers
Yes.
is going to be. Let's hold that one
Okay.
for a moment.
Okay.
See if you can guess a few of the others.
Of the homes, are they going to say the Christmas Vacation house?
That made the list.
Okay. I don't remember a lot of the other homes because I'm thinking like Rudolph and The Year Without a Santa Claus, the Grinch house, which those wouldn't really be houses.
I will say it doesn't appear as though animated
Cartoons.
movies made it.
Give me a clue.
We have everything from, don't forget, TV
Oh, A Christmas
and
Story.
movies. That one did not make it.
Oh, interesting.
A recent episode that we just did, one of your favorites.
The Goonies house?
The Goonies house made it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good house. Mm-hmm. They saved that house at the Goondocks. So, I don't know. What's another one?
Okay, think about...
Oh, is it just houses in general, not just Christmas houses? Maybe that's where I'm messing
Absolutely.
up. Oh.
Homes in general.
Homes in general.
Yes.
Ferris Bueller's house. Would
Absolutely.
Have been cool.
Think about some of the old TV shows.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Absolutely.
That was a cool house. The Full House house.
Uh-huh. you're on a roll now.
Perfect Strangers. Did they have a cool house? No.
That one didn't make it. I'll let you take one more guess, and then I'm just going to give you the list.
Okay. Give me a clue for like the top one. Let's see if I can guess the top one.
You've already guessed number 2.
Oh.
I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Number 1 is, what is our topic?
Oh, okay.
What
Home
is our
Alone.
Home Alone.
Home Alone,
It
the
is
Home
going to
Alone.
be the Home Alone
That's
house.
a cool house.
Absolutely. But for it to make number 1 on
a cool
this
house.
list, I thought that was pretty impressive. So let me just go ahead. Normally I would only do 10, but since it's 31, I'm going to read it fast.
Let's do
I'm
it.
going to give you all 31 from the bottom up.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Desperate Housewives, Notting Hill, Dexter Morgan's Apartment in Dexter, Nights in Rodanthe. Never even heard of that. Not sure what it is. But Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
The Swan House from Twilight. North by Northwest, Great Outdoors, Gone with the Wind, Roseanne, Sleepless in Seattle, Christmas Vacation, The Wonder Years, Seinfeld, Poltergeist,
Oh.
The Cullen House from Twilight, Beetlejuice, The Munsters, Golden Girls, Nancy's House from Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dursleys' House from Harry Potter, Amityville Horror, Ferris
That's what
Bueller.
I'm seeing. Some of these that you're saying, why would you want to grow up in this house?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get iconic homes.
But I
iconic
want to
houses,
grow up
but
in this
growing up
haunted
there,
home?
I think not.
What number is Ferris? What are we
Ferris is number 9. The Goonies is 8. Forrest Gump, Brady Bunch, Downton Abbey, The Fresh Prince of
Downton
Bel-Air.
Abbey.
I know, wouldn't that be fantastic? 3 is Psycho.
No, guys,
I know.
no. The question was, you want to grow up
Right,
in this house.
right.
They didn't fully read the question.
I think you're right. I mean,
They just said famous house and they named one.
they named it. Number 2 was Full House. You got that.
Okay.
And number 1, Home Alone.
You've seen the joke, which is wondering what the dad did to afford a house like that in the 90s, in 1990.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a gorgeous house. In fact, in that article, they described it as a gorgeous red brick Georgian home,
Mm-hmm.
which in real life is located in Winnetka, which is a wealthy suburb of Chicago, Illinois. Did you know that?
I would assume it was a wealthy suburb.
But did you know it was outside of Chicago?
I did not know.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I saw it. A 2021 Washington Post article said this about this house. Quote, "The stately, symmetrical house is one of the most iconic movie residences in American pop culture."
Symmetrical. Yes, it was. It
I
was
know.
beautiful.
So that house went up for sale just last year, and a People magazine article published in mid-January of 2025, we're talking recent, shared that it went for more than its asking price. Now, they didn't give the exact amount. They just said it went for more than their asking amount. They did say it was over $5.5 million.
I hope Macaulay bought it.
He actually made a joke about saying he phrased it he might buy it just for giggles.
Yeah.
Because you know
Yes.
of his history with
Yes.
it. Yes, but here's the thing. It's been remodeled over the years. It now boasts, I'm sure, other things as well, but it has a fully equipped gym, a state-of-the-art movie theater, an indoor sports court featuring a 3-point line, and a 3-car attached heated garage.
Wow.
Yeah.
You won't leave that door open, will you? That garage door.
Because of all the modern amenities and the great neighborhood in which it's located and its role in film history, the realtor described it as a rare legend that lives up to its hype in every way.
It's amazing.
I know.
I wonder if in the movie theater they just play Home Alone on a loop.
Well, they are very proud of Home Alone.
I would be.
In fact, we have a lot more to say
Ooh,
about
okay.
not just the house, but that whole area.
Uh-huh.
So, little teaser, we're circling back.
Okay, cool.
But I just thought that would be a fun way to start.
That is fun.
Okay. You guys, in honor of its 35th anniversary, can you believe it's
No,
been 35 years?
No, I cannot.
Yeah, today's episode is focused on the iconic Christmas movie Home Alone, which was released in November of 1990.
I was there. I watched it on the big screen.
Did you? You were
I
in the
sure
movie
did.
theater?
I did. It's one of the couple of films that I remember seeing on the big screen. The other one is The Little Mermaid.
Oh, really?
Yes, those are the two I
Very
remember.
different. Very different in style. Like
Little Mermaid terrified me when Ursula. The part with Ursula, when she got big, you know, she blew,
Yes,
she got really
yes.
big. They told me that my sister and I hid behind the chairs.
Isn't that interesting?
But I
Okay.
loved Home Alone. Loved it.
Well, and so was it kind of one of your first adult type? I mean, I know we have a child as the star, but it is still kind of an adult movie.
Yeah.
Was it your first kind
Possibly,
of Yeah.
maybe. I just remember just giggling at it and thinking it was so funny.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask you more about that in just a second, but just to give the context, it was rated PG, and in case you're not familiar, can't imagine that, but a very brief summary found on IMDb says an 8-year-old troublemaker mistakenly left home alone must defend his home against a pair of burglars on Christmas Eve. Okay, so
That sums it up.
I do want to hear, like, tell us. You've already shared that it was a special thing. Tell us more about your reaction to your first viewing of Home Alone.
Well, I can't really tell you much about the first viewing. All I remember from that first viewing is thinking it was cartoonishly funny. You know, just giggling as
Over the
as
top.
a 10-year-old. And also, I remember being struck by the fact that the kid in the film, now he's 8 in the film, but Macaulay was 10 years old. And so we share same birth year, and you know I register those kind of things. So it was seeing a kid my age on screen going through these things.
So you were really connected.
I
to
was
him.
really connected to the actor.
Yeah.
And
And the character.
And the character, yeah. Yeah. So the character would have been 8, but he was 10. And I just thought that was so fascinating. Same thing when I saw Jurassic Park. She was 12. The actor was 12. I was 12 when I saw it, 12 or 13, whichever. And it was just, oh, we're the same age. That could be me.
Yeah, made it very relatable.
Very
for you.
relatable, yes.
Yeah, and you know what? Different sources said that Kevin's character was 9, so I'm not even positive which one it was. Either way, very close to your age. Yeah, very
he
close
was
to
a
your
genius little kid.
Yeah.
The character was.
I remember from my first viewing, I did really enjoy the movie. I remember being very impressed with Macauley Culkin. I thought that this child actor is fantastic. I liked the heart of the movie a lot.
Gosh,
I remember I got caught up in the neighbor and, the whole
Yeah.
heart of the movie. But I was one of those people that thought, oh my gosh, this is so violent. There were parts that made me cringe.
Yes.
Like, I mean, it felt
It was like watching
over the top violent or sadistic in some ways.
It felt like watching, and I guess it's the Looney Tunes generation. I grew up watching Looney Tunes. Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner were trying to kill each other all the time.
Didn't that annoy you? That annoyed
Well, I
me.
mean, the fact that nobody ever won. But, it was
Yeah.
that cartoonish violence. I didn't think of it as being inappropriate. It probably was, but at the time, I didn't
just thought it was funny.
I just thought it was funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just silly and funny. And something else on my rewatch recently, I knew he talked to the camera, but it was interesting to me how often they had Kevin McCallister look into the camera and kind of speak to us, which had to be innovative at the time because
Yeah.
who else is he going to talk to? He's by himself
Right.
most of the film. What's he going to do? So he just talks to us, which is probably another reason that I felt so he's talking to
He
me.
brought us into it.
Yes.
Yeah, he literally did bring us into his experience. Yeah, I didn't even think about that choice, but that was pretty smart, I think. Because a lot of people watching it were not children. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so if you're going to bring in the people of other ages, that strategy still works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about how it came to be. Now, I do want to say I found a number of fantastic sources as I was researching this, but I do want to give a shout out to one in particular. I've mentioned it before. There is a series called The Movies That Made Us.
I gotta watch this series.
You really do.
I got to.
You do. It had an episode dedicated to Home Alone. And anytime that they feature whatever production it may be on this series, The Movies That Made Us, it's always so good because they go straight to the people who were involved and you get memory and recollection one after another from the people who were directly involved.
I love that.
So it's really good. Check it out if you're interested, but also look in the show notes because you'll see lots of other sources
Okay.
that were great that we used as well. But in terms of how the original storyline came to be, here's an excerpt from a 2015 Time magazine article in which John Hughes talks a bit about that. Quote, I was going away on vacation and making a list of everything I didn't want to forget. I thought, well, I'd better not forget my kids. Then I thought,
What if I
what
did?
if I left my 10-year-old son at home? What would he do?
Uh-huh.
I love it. Then the article went on to say, quote, one what if led to another. Taking a break from packing, Hughes wrote 8 pages of notes that developed into the screenplay of Home Alone, which he also ended up producing.
That's wild. What a great writer that he can be like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to pop off a movie.
He was incredibly prolific.
Yes, he was.
This came up time and time again.
We should do
Chris-
an episode on him specifically
It's
sometime.
crazy. Chris Columbus was one who spoke in The Movies That Made Us several times about that. He would say he would write sometimes an entire script in one weekend,
Yep.
or it might be 2 weeks would go by and he would produce 2 scripts. I mean, unbelievably prolific. But there was actually a second inspiration for Home Alone. That's one idea,
Okay.
right? One idea came to him based on that thought while he was packing. The other inspiration was his experience working on the movie Uncle Buck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you watch Uncle Buck?
I loved Uncle Buck. Yes.
It's a long time ago, but yes. Well, we all, I think, usually think of John Hughes as being famous for working with teens and young adults. I mean, he's famous for the Brat Pack movies, right? Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, all those kinds of things. But John said in an interview it was different for him when he was working on Uncle Buck because he was, working alongside this young actor, this 8-year-old boy named Macauley Culkin, and he was surprised how much fun he had.
Yeah.
And he was taken with this actor in particular. It made him think, wouldn't it be interesting if we created a movie
Just for him.
where a young boy was carrying it, where
Yeah.
he was the center of everything? So these two things combined and made the perfect storm for him. This is exactly what led to Home Alone. And in fact, he did picture Macauley Culkin as he was writing it. Like
Yeah,
he
you
basically
would.
wrote it for him.
Yeah, you would.
Some sources say that he had that script written in something like 9 days after, these ideas hit him.
That is wild.
Yeah. In general, though, let's continue this story of how it happened, right? John was writing so many scripts, it was more than he had time to direct. So,
What a problem to have.
I know. But this is how Chris Columbus came into the picture.
Who is also very prolific.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But in the late 80s, Chris was basically focused on screenwriting. That was where he was living. He wanted to be a director, but he was having a hard time breaking into that role. Okay. Now, he'd had some success with writing. We've talked about him before because one of his big successes was The Goonies, right?
Yes.
Another one was Gremlins. In 1987, he did make his directorial debut with Adventures in Babysitting.
That's also a good movie.
I love that movie. I
So
think that's
good.
or at least I did. I haven't seen it in years, but I remember loving that.
I remember
I thought
loving
it was
it.
so cute. And that was a fairly successful movie. But then his next film, Heartbreak Hotel, tanked.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know that one.
Yeah, it did not do well. And so he was kind of like, I think I'm going to be writing more scripts for a while. People are not going to give me jobs. But John Hughes liked his style, wanted to give Chris a chance. So John offered him his new script,
Wow.
which was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh.
Chris jumped at it and he started the work and then promptly backed out.
Ooh, was it because of Chevy Chase?
Absolutely, it was.
Chevy, come on, man.
Yeah, he said that as soon as he started working with Chevy Chase, he found him to be a total jerk, but he did not use that word.
Yeah, I'm sure. I am so surprised at how different Chevy Chase. Well, I don't know. I mean, he seems.
His persona is so
Yeah,
different.
from
I always
his
thought
real
he would be
life.
such a fun, nice guy.
Yeah, and I'm surprised he's had such a long career if that's his off-screen persona. But he has.
Yeah. Well, it also makes me sad because
Me
I want to
too.
believe that people that I think are really funny and really nice in terms of their identity that they put on screen, I want to believe that they're that way in real life too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
Well, basically, Chris said that he's a green director and Chevy just disregarded him in every way. He wouldn't talk with Chris. He wouldn't listen to Chris's ideas. And he said the short time they worked together was just absolutely awful. And so Chris called John up and he said he
can't
thought
do
it would
it.
be best if he passed on it. And he said John was totally supportive. He thought, that's it now. I'm definitely going to be nothing but a screenwriter. But the very next week, John Hughes sent Chris 2 scripts that he had just whipped out.
Oh my gosh.
And the second of those was Home Alone.
Wow.
Yeah. Now the funny thing is, this man, they both must have some confidence because instead of just saying, okay, sure, great, I'm going to do it, Chris said that he tweaked it a little bit and sent it back to John. And John was one who really...
You don't do that,
Yeah,
right?
John liked every bit of dialogue. You follow his words.
Yeah.
But Chris's thought was he wanted to develop the theme more because it didn't have the heart in it at that point. It was really focused on the humor
Yeah,
and
the
the
funnies.
comedy and the stunts, but it didn't have the heart. So he sent it back. He said he and John went back and forth a few different times. They were fine-tuning things. They both settled on here's what we like. And Warner Brothers said, yep, we'll give you $10 million to make this film. Now, that was actually a low budget.
Wow.
Yeah, that was low at that time. Compared to other movies, that was low. But these fellas were like, you know what? We have a child as the star.
Yeah.
We're not putting the money into big name actors.
Right.
We can make this work. Now, unfortunately, as they started thinking about, because Chris knew what he wanted this movie to be like, and as he started thinking about all the different things he was going to need,
gonna cost.
yeah, he starts figuring up his costs, and he realizes he actually needs a budget of like almost 15 million. So he sends a request, as he's putting things together, he sends a request to Warner Brothers for something like 14.7 million, thinking they're just going to be like, okay, close enough. And he was shocked when they pushed back. So they told him, nope, unless your crew can reduce the budget to 13.5 million, it's over. Again, the production team is like, come on, they're not going to, squabble over this. So instead of trying to make the cuts, they sent a long memo justifying the costs, and they received word that their project was dead.
Whoa.
Yeah,
They
the
said we're
movie's
not
over.
messing around.
Yeah, they said, no, you're done. Now, luckily for them, John Hughes had connections. So he had been talking to some of his studio friends when these issues were going on. And by the time everybody heard that Warner Brothers was out, the movie had already been picked up by 20th Century Fox. They didn't miss a single day of work. And it was only because of this behind the scenes finagling.
And look at what happened. Look at the juggernaut it became.
Absolutely. You know that they were kicking themselves too. Yeah. And they started filming on Valentine's Day of 1990. Yeah.
Man, they started filming and it was out that year.
Oh, these are some people who knew what they were doing.
It's good for them.
Okay. Now, we are back to the setting because this was big. In terms of all the episodes we've done, I saw more notes about the setting for this movie than almost any other movie we've talked about.
It's another character.
Yeah, they actually use that term.
Yeah.
It is. It's like another character. The house in particular is like another character.
Yes.
Yeah. So to flesh that out, in the Movies That Made Us, they spoke with the location manager for the film. She gave a little soundbite or two here and there. Her name was Jacqueline Buxbaum, and she commented that until you have your locations, all the other departments of your movie can't do their jobs.
Right.
So there was pressure. They had to find the perfect house for the McCallister family home. And Chris and a few crew members, including Jackie, spoke about the significance of this house. They said it had to be warm, it had to be inviting, it had to be special enough that it would justify Kevin's actions in defending it. And to your point, it was Jackie who said, this house was like a character. This house became Kevin's tool for manipulating the bad guys.
Yes.
So it was a huge thing, okay? Now, they already knew John Hughes, he liked to film away from the studio system. He didn't want the oversight. You know, he wanted to kind of do his own thing, and he loved the Chicago area because he had connections there.
That's where Ferris Bueller was.
Yep, exactly. So they knew they had to be looking in that area. But they had to conduct a pretty exhaustive search before they finally found the home they wanted, which, as we said earlier, was located in Winnetka. Now, they loved the house they found, but then discovered they couldn't use the inside of it.
Oh.
It was too small, couldn't accommodate their crew, what they needed to do. So they actually used the gym of a nearby abandoned school to create the entire set for the inside of the home. They built every bit of that. And that gym they had used for other John Hughes movies as well. Okay. So they filmed all the interior shots inside an abandoned school. Yeah, in the gym.
That is fascinating.
Right? Oh, and by the way, when they go to do the water scenes later and, you know, the flooding.
Yes.
They use the pool. They built it over top of their pool, the empty pool.
That is so smart. And I was thinking about it. That is probably the most heinous thing that I thought those burglars did. I remember rewatching it going, you were flooding these people's homes.
Yeah,
this is
just
horrible.
to be evil.
This is horrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, filming was supposed to take weeks, but it ended up taking more like 4 or 5 months.
Ooh.
Meanwhile, the people who owned that home continue to live in that house the entire time.
Well, I guess that's okay because they're not using the interior, right?
Well, hang on. That People magazine article I referenced earlier shared some memories from Laura Abensheen. I think that's how you would say her name. That was the daughter of the couple who owned the house. In that magazine article, she said, quote, "We stayed in the house pretty much the entire period, which was about 4 or 5 months. In order to avoid appearing on screen, we would have to crawl around the window line from room to room.
Oh, no.
They would spend time in the house when they weren't filming their scenes. Macauley Culkin used my room to study with his tutor, and his brother Kieran wasn't filming as much, so he would just hang out in my room."
Oh.
So they became like the makeshift green rooms in effect. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
Yes. So can you imagine?
They're just Macaulay Culkin hanging out in my room doing his studies.
Isn't that crazy? Now, they also filmed other things in Winnetka. Now, to give a few examples, the drugstore scene was filmed in a real Winnetka drugstore. And the ice skating rink that you see when that drugstore worker chases Kevin across, that's still present today when it gets cold enough.
Oh.
Yeah. A member of the town's historical society spoke in a WGN segment, commenting that everyone in the town was on board for their neighborhood to be used as part of the setting for the movie. Like, in fact, I believe, if I recall correctly, in the drugstore scene, it was a woman from that town who played the owner or
About the toothbrush?
The clerk. Yes. But outside of the family who owned the Home Alone house, they said in this segment that it was their neighbors who were the ones most affected because there was some late night filming.
And the lights.
They would have to set up all this lighting. And sometimes they had to produce produce snow. And we'll come back to this in a second, but they would use potato flakes to do some of the blowing effects. And that reportedly started to smell pretty bad after a few days.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So again, going back to Laura, that daughter who lived in the Home Alone house, she later said, when she was reflecting on the success of the movie, we saw something special was happening, but we didn't anticipate how much of a hit it would be. It was very surreal when the movie came out and all of a sudden it's holiday season in 1990 and it was an endless row of cars and people wanted to see the house and take photographs, and that was very new to us, but we grew to love it and we shared the magic of the movie.
I'm so glad they grew to love it and they didn't feel like it was an imposition.
Well, it's interesting because I did see several interviews. That family continued to live in that house for years upon years. I think it was around 2011 or 2012 that they sold to the next family. And then, as we said, just recently, the most recent family came in, like early 2025. There have been some
people who didn't like it as much.
Encroachments, I guess you would say, because the house does look a little different today. There is a fence now. They had to put up a small fence to keep the fans out. Now, the treehouse came down right after filming because that was only for the movie. At some point, the circular driveway was taken away. Those are just a few of the changes. We talked about the remodeling earlier, so lots of changes to the house itself. But people come there all the time. This is 5 years old, but a WGN news segment that was filmed back in 2020 for the 30th anniversary of the movie said tens of thousands of tourists flock to Winnetka every year, with the numbers increasing during the holiday season.
I bet.
Yeah. People talked about at certain times during the holiday season, they have to make the road one way because of the traffic.
Wow.
You have people outside doing Kevinn's
face in front of it.
Yeah. I mean, there are pictures. People are all around their house.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy. One last thing about the setting. We've talked about how they really wanted to have the perfect location, and they got that in Winnetka. But Chris was also really, really big on insisting that this movie would have an incredibly strong Christmassy feel to it, okay? Now, that took some work, okay? So to give a few examples, I didn't notice this until I saw it in the research. And then when I was watching the movie, it was hitting me in the face. They decorate that McCallister house.
It's decked out.
Red and green everywhere. Like you don't notice
the
it.
Wallpaper and the clothing.
Everywhere, down to a green telephone.
Wow.
You don't notice it. You just think like, oh, this is so cheerful and it's so pretty and everything. When you start looking, red and green. Now, obviously, like the songs, you hear Christmas songs all through it. We'll come back to the music here in a bit.
And Kevinn's a pretty good decorator too, because he decorates their house for Christmas and it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
He's got a good eye.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, of course, all the outdoor scenes, they wanted them to look very wintry. But there was a problem with that because heading into filming, the weather had been unseasonably warm for Chicago at that time. So, for example, in that scene where Kevinn is chased across that frozen pond, the crew had to create that ice rink by using frozen coils of glycol and then had to put shaved ice across the grass to try to make it look like it was snowy.
Wow.
And then all along from the very beginning, they had put out to the whole crew, we must have a great, snow scene for this emotional scene where Kevinn's mom comes home. Yeah. So everybody was basically like on call. If the weather forecast says we're going to get a snow, we're dropping everything. Okay. We're doing it. And so it happened. Luckily for them, it happened very early in their filming. So a big snow came. They were able to get most of the shots they needed. They said it was more snow than they actually wanted, but okay, it worked well for the movie. But they needed that blowing snow, and that's where they brought out those potato flakes.
Oh gosh.
Which they used a lot of them, and again, they started to smell after a few days. All right. Guys. Okay, we haven't even talked about the cast yet.
Oh my goodness.
But we're going to take our break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the cast, and we're also going to talk about a few of those famous moments from the movie and the behind the scenes of those.
We love our sponsors. They help make our podcast possible, but we also know that some of you prefer to enjoy your tea without any interruptions. Well, if that's the case, you'll be excited to learn that you can now listen to Scandal Water free of sponsor ads on Apple Podcasts for only $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year. The best part? By subscribing, you'll also receive access to our exclusive bonus content. To sign up, just go to Apple Podcasts and search for Scandal Water Podcast, and you'll see the link. Thanks for helping us keep the tea brewing. Cheers!
And we are back. The cast. Well, we've already said that John Hughes had Macauley Culkin in mind the whole time that he was writing it.
Did he audition other kids?
That's the thing.
Okay.
You know, John Hughes thought he's just got this role. But Chris Columbus was the director,
Yeah.
and John honored that. So he let Chris choose his person, and Chris Columbus wanted to make sure that he chose the Kevin he wanted. So he said in the Movies That Made Us that he auditioned something like 400 kids.
Wow.
Yeah. And then said, quote, after doing that, he realized there was no one as special or as unique or as talented as Macaulay. The camera loved him. He was infinitely relatable to people all over the world.
He was adorable.
Yeah. So, of course, he went with Macaulay Culkin. Now, this was kind of fun, too, because they shared a little bit of their thinking. They said it was tricky casting the burglars because
They couldn't be too evil.
They couldn't be too evil, too scary, or too funny.
Yeah.
Like you had to
There
find
had to
that
be a real
sweet
danger.
spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. They said it was hard, right? For the character of Harry, they considered Robert De Niro and John Lovitz. Both of them turned down the role, according to Mental Floss. But thankfully, Joe Pesci did not. Chris Columbus was a huge Raging Bull fan, and he made it sound like he didn't expect Joe to accept the role, but was...
It doesn't sound like something he would do.
Right. They said that it wasn't his normal part. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Chris said he was thrilled when
I bet.
when he took it. Yeah, that was big for them. Now, some of the people who spoke in these interviews said Joe could be a little gruff.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, there were a few stories about him, so I'm just going to share a couple. Now, everybody said he was amazing in the role. Everybody thought he did a wonderful job as Harry. But they said he could be a little gruff. For example, one fella talked about how he would sometimes question the dialogue. He thought it was funny. But then this gentleman went on to say, but ironically, the hardest thing for Joe was controlling his own language.
I bet.
They said he wanted to use a curse word like
Yeah.
every
You can't do it,
5 or
Joe.
6 words.
Yeah.
Yes, but this actually led to something kind of funny. Do you remember, if you think back to the movie, I think it's more than one scene where Joe Pesci's character Harry, after some kind of a fall or some mishap, he almost talks in this garbled language. It's like it sounds like it's supposed to be cursing, but it's
not.
nonsense.
Yes.
He made that up. Like
So that he wouldn't do it?
I think that was his way of avoiding cussing, but it's hysterical. It's so good.
funny.
Another crew member said Joe got a little heated one day over his early call time because he liked to play golf in the mornings.
Well,
and he
I'm
wanted,
sorry, Joe.
Yeah, he wanted the day to line up the way he wanted it. Now, Macaulay said, he confirmed, I should say, because there was a rumor out there.
That they didn't interact.
Exactly. And Macaulay said that he thinks that was true, that a lot of times Joe Pesci did seem to keep his distance from Macaulay. And the thinking is so that it would be easier for Macaulay to
be
see
scared.
him as a scary, mean burglar.
Yes.
Now, they did interact, of course, a few times. Here is Macaulay telling about one of their interactions. Now, this comes from, there's a YouTube show. You've probably seen it. It's called Hot Ones, and it's where celebrities...
Oh, yes, they
will
eat chicken?
they'll
Yes,
eat,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
hot wings.
And it gets increasingly hotter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Macaulay was on that.
Oh,
and
gosh.
during one portion, they asked him some questions about Home Alone. So you're going to hear this little clip, and I've got another one I'll be sharing with you in just a bit.
Just remember kind of sitting there, he goes, how you doing, kid? I go, you know what, I'm actually tired. I haven't been home in like 4 or 5 months. He goes, I've been home in 3 years.
Yeah, so...
He has no sympathy for him. He's like, you know what? I haven't been home in 3 years. Quit your whining.
I think he went on to say, yeah, but I was a kid, like it's a little different. But another funny story that Macaulay liked to tell back in the 90s was how Joe accidentally did bite him in that scene where he pretends to bite him. I guess Joe got carried away a little bit and he actually broke the skin.
Oh.
And so Macaulay to this day carries around a little scar from Joe Pesci.
Little gift.
Yes. But again, I think these are like funny stories. Everybody liked Joe. He did a great job. He was just a little gruff. One person who loved him was Daniel Stern.
Oh, good.
Who played
Because they were
Marv.
wonderful together.
Oh, they absolutely were. But there's a little interesting backstory about Daniel Stern. Okay. So he was cast as Marv and he was happy to take the role. But when he was cast, he was told it was going to be a 6-week commitment. Now, as things progressed, they
got longer.
realized, oh, we're going to need you for more like 8 weeks. And it's funny because as he's telling this story, you can tell he's a little self-deprecating. He's like, I don't know what was wrong with me being so cocky. But he was like, basically he was like, well, am I going to get paid more for 2 more weeks of work? And they told him no. And he quit. Yeah. So they brought in an actor named Dan Roebuck to do his role. And they were moving on with this. But when they started filming, they said Dan Roebuck was a fabulous actor. It's not about that. But he and Joe didn't have the chemistry. It was not working. And they decided they could not go forward
without Daniel.
They needed Daniel Stern back. So they reached out to him, and Daniel was like, oh, thank God that I got back into this movie. He was like so thankful. But when he came on set and they started doing the scenes with Joe and Daniel together, they had worked together years before in another film. They were friends.
Okay.
These two, they clicked. They said it was magical. They used the word magical when these two were together. And they were. They were so good. The parents were also tricky. I thought this was great. They pointed out something that seems obvious, but I don't know that I'd put it, I don't know that I'd thought about it this way, but they said it was really challenging. They had to find actors who could make it believable that they would somehow forget their child, and yet you would still like them and be sympathetic to them.
And that's what I told Brian when I was rewatching it. I said, this is feasible. Just because they thought of everything. Because you would go, there's no way that you would forget your kid. But they thought of every little loophole that you could excuse it. Now, when they lost him in New York, you lost me there. Like, this is silly. I don't even remember the last time I watched Home Alone 2. But Home Alone, the original, the way they set that up, I could see it happening. Yes. And I believed the mom's just primal urge to get back to him. Like, I am going to get back to my son. When they had their big fight before she sends him up to the attic, I didn't think she was unreasonable in her discussion with him. She wasn't yelling at him. She was just saying, look, you can't be this way. You go up here, cool off. And she was very gentle with him, I felt like.
Yes, I agree. If anything, I think he kind of came across as a little bit of a jerk in the beginning.
Well, they both families did. It was kind of
they were mean to him.
They were
too.
super
yes,
mean to
they
him.
Were.
And then he wasn't good to them, and they weren't good. It was both sides.
It was. Yes, I agree. Which again ends up
working
very well towards the end of the movie. So it makes sense. I think the one thing, explain this to me. Maybe I don't remember, but why wouldn't you have just got the police to go to your...
They did. They tried. They have the police go, and the police go, but there's that scene where they keep going between, she keeps trying to get this and whatever, and they finally have the policeman go to the house. He knocks, and Kevin doesn't answer because he's scared. So he's like, there's nobody here. She's wrong. And the phone line was dead. So when they were trying to call Kevin...
That's right. Yeah. Okay, I'm with you now. I remember the phone line being dead.
Yeah, the phone line was dead. And then by the time it got fixed, Kevin wouldn't answer.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you. Well, back to what we were saying. The casting director spoke about Catherine O'Hara. The casting director had worked with her in Beetlejuice, found her to be a wonderful, very funny person. So obviously she was a fan. Chris Columbus also knew Catherine from Beetlejuice as well as her SCTV work. So all of this led to her getting cast as Kevin's mom, Kate McCallister. And I think it was a similar situation for John Hurd getting cast as the dad, Peter McCallister, as well. According to IMDb trivia, Chris Columbus had seen his previous work, was a fan, and just decided to go ahead and cast him. Now, just to follow that thread for just a second, though, of course, we think of very positive things. When you think about the McCallister parents, lots of positive emotions for us. But a Guardian article published at the time of John Hurd's passing shared this quote from him, and he's referring to himself and Catherine. Quote, "We were the only two people in the movie who didn't know how funny the movie was because we were the parents that had left our child, and she had to run around hysterically having abandoned a 7-year-old or whatever he was." So I can see where as they were filming it, they would have had the doubts. It was a drama for them. Is this going to be funny? I don't know.
But that's why it worked.
Yeah.
Because they took it seriously. They had the cartoonish part. The cartoonish part is really, it's like when everybody thinks about It's a Wonderful Life. We think about It's a Wonderful Life and the part where he goes back in time, or he goes and sees the alternate life without him. That's not very much of the movie. Most of the movie is about George's life until he gets to the desperation. Most of this film is about Kevin just existing in this house.
Right.
The funny stuff where he takes on the burglars is about 15 minutes of the film, where he does the booby traps and all of that. The rest, Mom's living in a drama. And I think that's what made it so well, to me, that's one of the things that made it so successful, is she is truly, legitimately trying to get back to her son for her part of the film.
Yes, absolutely. But even while she's going through that drama, we also had the funny but also heartwarming storyline involving John Candy's character,
Who
Gus.
improvised all of his lines.
Yes.
Clearly.
Yes, they talk about
Yes.
that in several of the sources. Yeah, and so they commented. Chris seemed to think this was funny. He was like, John Hughes was a huge stickler for having the actors follow the script.
Not John
He was
Candy.
given instructions the whole time, make the actors follow those lines. And then all of a sudden, John Candy comes up and he literally just threw it out the window. But they said that John Hughes, he was the producer and he had guidelines, but he hadn't come around the set much. He had only been there present in person one time before John Candy's scenes were filmed. But everybody knew he was going to come the day.
For John's.
Yeah, they knew he was going to come for John. So they were excited about both things. John Hughes is going to be here and we're going to get to work with John Candy. But it was funny because John Candy basically did this as a favor.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said, okay, he signed up for a day of filming. They didn't tell him they were going to work him for 23 hours straight.
So it literally was a day.
Yes. In fact, you know what? Rather than have me tell you about that, let me play a short clip from Chris Columbus.
He encouraged me to let John improvise. So when he's talking about his band, Kenosha Kickers, and the hits and polka, 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 that's all improvisation. Polka, polka, polka.
He had worked with Catherine O'Hara before, so the two of them just flew.
And as they flew, in the back of a rental van, John Hughes made sure to get the most out of his one day with John Candy.
I don't think John Candy knew it was going to be 23 hours.
And there was a point where Candy looked at John, and it was like...
I thought that was cute.
Yes. He
Yeah.
said, a day. I'm giving you a day. You took me literally.
Yes. Yes. He gave him the eye there. So John, he did that for scale.
Yeah, I heard that. Mhm.
Yeah. So the fella who played the pizza boy, his name was Danny Warhol. He made more money than John Candy did
That's
doing that movie.
wild.
Isn't that sweet? Okay. For sake of time, there are so many amazing actors in this movie, but I'm just going to list a few others. You jump in if you want to talk about somebody that I miss. Okay. There was a character actor named Roberts Blossom who played Old Man
Yes,
Marley,
him.
the neighbor.
Wonderful. My
Fantastic
goodness.
job.
That scene with Kevin and him in the church. I got choked up. It was
Absolutely.
so beautiful. And they named him Old Man Marley because of A Christmas Carol.
Yes.
So he was the scary neighbor. But I just thought that is the message of the movie here.
Chris spoke about that scene that you just mentioned. I mean, first of all, that was one of the ones that they added because remember, they were trying to
heart.
develop the heart and the theme. But the other thing that he said was Macaulay was amazing. Everybody knew Macaulay was amazing, not taking a single thing away from this boy. But it was a film. And when you do film scenes, you can have takes and cuts, and that's how film works, right? And he's a child, so a lot of times it might be like, let's do it again, try this, or here's lots of direction because he's a child.
Yeah.
Chris said that when Macaulay came in to do that church scene with Roberts Blossom, he said that he expected it to be the same way, and he said Macaulay sat down and did that scene like it was a stage play. Like he just kind of went through this big long chunk of it and with the perfect emotion. And he said, he literally, I think he used these words, Macaulay just got it.
He did.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
It literally was. I agree. And that Roberts Blossom was perfect.
He was.
So we've already said one of Macaulay Culkin's own brothers, Kieran Culkin, played the role of Fuller, one of Kevin's cousins, the one that wets the bed.
He did it all. He drank all that Pepsi and he's looking at him.
Yep, that was his film debut. Buzz was played by Devin Rattray. And just for fun, I will share, again, I'm going back to that show, Hot Ones, that Macaulay Culkin appeared in just in August of this last year, actually. But he was asked if the rumor was true that the picture of Buzz's girlfriend
Was a guy?
Yes, is actually a boy in makeup. And Macaulay said that is what he was told as well. And the reason behind that was because
They didn't want to hurt a little girl's feelings.
Yes, they thought it would be mean to make fun of a girl like that.
I think that's wonderful.
I thought that was sweet.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. All right. So to wrap up this section on the cast, obviously, lots of people we had to leave out, many of those children. And so I just want to say this was something else that I thought was really sweet. several people commented on how great Chris Columbus was at working with children.
Oh,
and you can
good.
see clips of it. Like, you can see how he worked with them and related to them and talked to them. And that man was amazing. But just to give you a couple of quotes, the actor who played Buzz, I just mentioned him a minute ago, he commented that Chris treated them as actors, not child actors. Daniel Stern noted that Chris was a great teacher.
Oh, good.
That he taught them. And Macaulay said something kind of similar. He said that Chris had a great way of helping him, at that time I guess he was 9, understand what it was that Chris wanted to get out of him in any given scene. And I was like, what an amazing tribute.
That really is, especially
Yeah.
for such a first-time director, like, or a green director, as he said.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's hit a couple of those famous moments. We're getting towards the end. I know this is a long episode.
I'm sad. I don't want it to end. Okay, keep going.
So one other question Macaulay was asked when he was on Hot Ones was if he had really improvised the line, "You guys give up or you're thirsty for more?" He said no. That actually was in the script. However, he said he did improvise a few lines, and he gave an example. He said when he's in the grocery store being asked about his parents, and that clerk, is pushing him, and she asked why Kevin wouldn't talk to her, he did ad-lib the response, "Because you're a stranger." Yeah.
Yes.
The tarantula scene.
Oh, Daniel Stern was terrified, right? And he couldn't actually scream because it would scare it, so he had to fake scream, and they had to put the scream in later. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
It's not correct?
That's a myth that he had to clarify.
Oh.
Yes, he talked about that.
Okay.
By the way, he has a 2024 book, Home and Alone, that came out, and he shares a lot of things in that. But I saw him in an interview for Entertainment Tonight, and he shared that the day he came to set, they had used props for so many of their other stunts. He was like, wonder what they're going to use for that tarantula.
It's the real one.
And he says he shows up and there's a wrangler there.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
Yeah, but he said that, he was still pretty new and hungry. And he was like, okay, I'll do what they asked me to do because he, wanted to really make a name for himself. So he said that first, he's laying there. He had to let the tarantula crawl around on his face for a while so that they could get acclimated to each other, get used to each other.
Yeah.
Then he said when they did start filming, they needed the tarantula to be in the right spot. So sometimes it would like go down his ear or go off, and he would have to just sit and let it crawl around until it got to the spot that they wanted for the film. So he had that thing crawling around on him for a long time. Now, they asked him, because that is the rumor. Everybody's heard that they had to add the scream later. He said that he was told, don't startle the tarantula because if you do, it might bite.
Nope.
So then when they got to the scream, he said, so I shouldn't scream, right? Because I don't want to
Startle it.
Well, his name was Barry. The tarantula had a name. His name was Barry. He said, I don't want to startle Barry. Should I not scream?
He called him Barry.
And the wrangler told him, tarantulas can't hear. Go for it.
Stop.
So he actually did the scream. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
This
And
whole
that
episode was worth it for that one story.
And the look on my face was just like, what? They can't hear.
Yes. Now, as for Macaulay's most famous movie moment, show it
says,
what.
that one.
Yes. Do you know the story behind that one too?
Well, it doesn't make sense because he put on aftershave and it wouldn't burn because
I
there's
agree with
nothing.
you.
I was like, come on, but it's
Right.
cute.
Yeah.
It's cute.
I mean, I guess the alcohol in there. But Chris shared that John Hughes wrote it so that it would be the way you would do it, right? You put it on your face, you kind of do 2 smacks, and then as his hands would have been away from his face, he would have let out the scream.
But he kept it on.
He couldn't. He said, this cute little kid, he didn't do it the way he was instructed. Couldn't get it right. But then they ended up thinking it was so cute, they left it. And of course, now it's iconic.
It's iconic.
Iconic. Yeah. Okay. So we're getting really close. To finish this part up, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about some of those other famous moments, which of course involve the stunts.
Yes.
The stunts. All right. The Wet Bandits in particular had a lot of dangerous scenes to film. And they pointed out this is pre-CGI.
Yeah, they're really doing that stuff.
So they needed these stunt doubles, and they needed good ones, all right? Now, I thought this was so interesting because it kind of spoke to me. Remember, I felt like some of it was kind of violent.
Yeah.
Chris said that while they were filming the stunts, he said it wasn't funny at all.
I bet.
He said that literally these stunts were so big and so dangerous, the crew would look away from the camera, the monitors, Like
They were
Yes,
scared.
they would turn, and he said it would be like, avert your eyes, and then it would be like, is he okay? Is he okay? And so every fall, every attack, he said they were just like tense, and it was really scary. But of course, those stunts ended up being instrumental in making the film the massive hit that it ended up being. In fact, according to the movies that made us, Home Alone not only impacted the movie, it impacted the stunt industry in general.
I would think it would also increase security systems.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah. But to this day, they said that if someone, a stunt actor, does a huge fall where they get a lot of air and land on their back, they refer to that as the Home Alone.
Wow.
And Joe Pesci's stunt double said that after the movie came out, he got so much work.
I bet.
Yeah. I mean, it was like his little audition
Calling
reel or
card,
something.
yeah.
Now, Macauley Culkin, here's our last little clip. He shared a fun story about his stunt double. This also comes from Hot Ones. His stunt double, by the way, was a fella named Larry.
Oh,
okay,
Larry.
this is about a minute long, and I think it's kind of cute.
Is it true that your stunt double was a very short 30-year-old man?
Yeah, his name was Larry, and I saw him in the wardrobe department for the first time. And so, he's like, I get changed and I walk out, and there's this guy, Larry, dressed exactly like me, because we're both trying on the same outfit. And I'm like, oh, hey, Larry, how you doing? And he goes, hey, I'm doing good. Hey, I'm Larry, stunt guy. And he kind of like looks at me and goes, how old do you think I am? And I go, oh, that's a loaded question. I know he's much older than me because I was 9. So I was loaded. I go, 13? Much older than me. And he goes, he thought that was funny. So, so he, I remember my memory of Larry, he's climbing the shelf. He's climbing the shelf, trying to reach that thing on the top, and the whole shelf collapsed. It was vicious, that first take. It was vicious. And then they do it again. And there's another take. And just, boom, and they didn't like the way everything felt. And they do it again. And they do it again. And they do it again. And I'm going, please take it easy on Larry. He's only 13 years old.
Larry's only 13. Poor Larry.
Isn't that cute? And I love that we got Macaulay's voice
I do
in
too.
here. Yeah.
We can pretend he did the interview for us. We can pretend.
We can pretend. So one other thing, the music.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Do you know who scored it? This shocked me.
John Williams?
It was.
Yeah, John Williams.
It was. I didn't remember that.
The man, John Williams. We also need to do an episode on John Williams.
We absolutely do, because I'm so impressed with him. But what happened was they actually had another composer lined up, and he had to back out. And so Chris Columbus threw out the suggestion of approaching John Williams almost as a joke. Like nobody thought that this man would actually do this
icon of a man
budget movie. So because in case you guys don't know, we are talking about the same John Williams who composed for movies like Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park, Star Wars. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Yeah. But what happened was they somehow got the rough cut of their film to John Williams, and he liked it. And because he liked it so much.
Because he's John Williams, he can do what he wants.
Exactly.
He said, I want to do that.
agreed to compose their score. Daniel Stern commented something to the effect of, here we were at the very end of the process of making this movie, and then they add in this music composed by John Williams, and it changed the whole
it's amazing.
movie. Yeah, people talked about the impact of that score.
It's gorgeous.
Absolutely. Speaking of impact, Home Alone came out around Thanksgiving of 1990. Siskel and Ebert, both very influential at that time. They were two movie critics who carried a lot of weight during that time period.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Hated the movie.
Oh, thumbs down.
Yes, hated the movie.
Oh.
But the box office
Said
for their
you are
opening
wrong.
weekend was way beyond expectations. It ended up being the #1 movie for something like 12 weeks. Way past
forever.
Christmas.
Forever.
Way past Christmas. Yeah. It brought in over $285 million in the U.S.
And remember, he was struggling to get that 15
isn't
million.
that crazy? But listen, it ended up setting a record. It held the record for the highest grossing live action comedy domestically for something like 27 years.
Amazing.
Yeah, this movie, like you said, couldn't even get the money to make it, low budget, and
held a record for 27 years.
For 27 years.
Armchair Psychologist.
That brings us to the armchair.
But check your armchair before you sit down. Kevin could have put something in it. He could have put a thumbtack.
Barry might be there.
Barry.
So I wanted to ask you why you think this movie is still so beloved after 35 years, but rather than just let you go into it cold, let me give you 3 different theories. Okay, this will be quick.
Okay.
Of course, there are many other factors that can be named as well, but here are 3 that I saw multiple times, all right? Chris Columbus definitely believes one huge factor behind the success of the movie was its heartwarming themes about the meaning of Christmas and the importance of family. Mm-hmm. Now, this also came from Chris, and I hadn't thought about this one before, but he felt like another factor that contributed to the movie's continuing success is its timelessness.
Yeah.
He said that from the very beginning, I love the foresight, that was something they strategically aimed for with their choice of location, with their choice of decorations, even the wardrobe. They thought about elegance, they thought about style, they thought about evergreen.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Finally, Daniel Stern said that, of course, yes, the heart and the comedy.
Heart.
Yes, those are givens, he said. But he brought up a different reason I hadn't heard yet. He said another reason for its success, he thinks, is that it pits a child against evil burglars, which has you rooting so hard
for the child.
For this child. He says it's a child empowerment movie.
Oh, that's Kevin McCallister was a genius. Firstly, he was amazing. Oh, well, one thing they haven't said is Macauley Culkin.
Yes, absolutely. Of course.
I mean, my goodness, he carried the film.
Right.
He carried it and he endeared himself. All of that is true, but would it have been true had it been in the hands of another actor? Right. I don't think so. Macaulay Culkin as Kevin McCallister was so small and vulnerable. He was sassy, but he also had a sweet side, especially with Old Man Marley. He was wise beyond his years.
Yes.
He was smart. I think a lot of it had to do with his portrayal of this character.
I agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you put another actor in that role, it would have been a very different movie, depending on their skill level, depending on their, But another thing that I hadn't brought up, just something that I saw in my research that was interesting, was the fact that they had a lot of people who were green working on the movie, and in some ways that may have played in their favor because they tried some things
they thought outside of the box.
Yes, that were different. And I haven't mentioned this yet, but they talked about how because the fella who was in charge of a lot of, I'm not sure what his title was, let's say cinematographer maybe, but somebody who was in charge of a lot of the camera angles, he was worried that he wasn't going to get some of the footage he needed or he might lose some of it. And he started using a bonus cam. And that bonus cam ended up being really powerful in the movie. For example, as you would see the iron dropping through the laundry chute, it would change the perspective. It would change the angle. And so sometimes I think, like you talking about Kevin talking to the audience, some of those choices they made that were different, that were new and novel at that time in particular, I think were also important.
Yeah, but I also think it's a combination of everything.
It is.
It's a combination because we have these moments in film history when every element comes together perfectly. And I think if you could say, oh, it's Macaulay Culkin, well, every film that Macaulay Culkin was in then should have had this same success. And some of them weren't. Some did and some didn't.
Right.
He's the same kid, but it's a different script. It's a different director. It's all just sometimes everything works
all
together.
The stars align.
Everything works together. And you have this cinematic gold mine. And it's just, that's why it's history. That's why it's historical. It's amazing.
Yes. And I'm going to say, I give props to Chris Columbus because as the person who got a little concerned about the violence of the props, the heart of that movie, I would say if I had to isolate 2 things that make me want to see the movie again every year, yes, Macaulay's in there. But the 2 other things that make me want to see it are the heart and the Christmassy feel I get. I could not feel, I mean, it is Christmas just
oozes.
It's just flowing over you in every way. And I think those are the 2 things that bring me back every year.
I would say for me, there's 3. I'd say Macaulay because I identified with him so deeply. I would say it's the heart of the film because I laughed and I cried watching this. And to me, that is a perfect combination. I want to giggle, and I also want to feel that deep message, which I did.
Yes.
And the third thing is nostalgia, because I have so many fond familial memories connected with this. And when it came back, even when I was watching the opening credits, I just had this rush of taking me back to a specific time in my childhood, and I got to relive that. So,
Yeah. Well, happy 35 years to Home Alone.
and to Macaulay.
And to Macaulay, yes. A big cheers to, I'm going to say, I know he's passed, but a tribute to John Hughes.
Oh, yeah, for coming up with it.
For creating it. Chris Columbus for bringing it to
Yes.
life. And Macauley Culkin for being the absolute perfect Kevin.
Absolutely.
Cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
If you love what we do, please rate and review our show or become a supporter through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon. Whether a single gift or recurring monthly donation, your support is what allows us to keep the tea brewing.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Show notes are available at our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com, where you can also access the merch store and more.
This episode was executive produced by Candy Thomas, that's me, and Ashley Raymer Brown.
That's me.
It was researched and written by Candy Thomas and edited by Ashley Raymer Brown.
A special thank you to Josh Martin, who wrote, composed, and performed the Scandal Water theme and other music, Matt C. Adams, who created the artwork, and Joshua Reeve, who designed our website and provides ongoing technical support.
As a reminder, this podcast is purely for entertainment purposes. The thoughts and opinions of the host during each episode of Scandal Water are their own and do not reflect the opinions of any future guests, advertisers, or clearly professional psychologists. Thanks for listening.